Yeah, so far so good, yes.
Oh, you're back on. Hello.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Molo, what up?
Hey, I'm doing well, Aaron. How are you?
We're good. Just eating an avocado.
Yes, we have just as many wildfires on non-red flag days as we do on red flag days.
Now, anytime from about 3 to 6 is usually when they're a little bit on the breezy side, and winds are strong enough to blow around my hair a little bit and to increase fire danger a tad. Next week will be a typical Zephyr wind kind of a setup. The wind we're seeing today and tomorrow will more so be from the system toward north. Current the story and Washington Channel 2 News. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2, 3. It is.
I was thinking how
It's okay, legends.
This is Channel 2 News, coverage you can count on.
Yes, we have just as many wildfires on non-red flag days as we do on red flag days.
Well, in Nevada, we have to be fire aware every day, even when we're not under a red flag warning. Fire Watch tops Channel 2 News at 5 o'clock. Reno is known as a windy area, which certainly is not good news for fire season. Good evening, I'm Kristen Remington.
And I'm Landon Miller. Thank you for joining us. And with our vegetation drying out, fire is on a lot of people's minds right now. So we have Fire Watch team coverage for you tonight. Chief Meteorologist Mike Algers in the Weather Center with a look at if fire conditions will worsen in the days ahead.
But let's start with Angela Schilling, live at Windy Hill after talking with the Weather Service about how the Washoe Zephyr winds can play a role in fire danger. Angela, when is the best time to see these gusty winds around here?
Right now, anytime between about 3 to 6 o'clock, it usually is a little bit on the breezy side in our area. And our winds have picked up a little bit. My hair is kind of flying around, and it is high enough just to elevate the fire danger just a tad. You can count on the wind in Reno to be gusty almost on a daily basis, and first responders are not a fan of it.
Whatever the fire cause is on a windy day, we're off to the races because the wind will spread the fire so fast, we may not be able to get around it.
Even on non-red flag days, our winds can gust over 20 miles per hour in the afternoon, almost like clockwork. Wind speed is all based on pressure and our temperature differences.
When you get cooler marine air coming into the California coast, that increases the temperature difference across the region, and that will increase the winds.
They're called Washoe Zephyr winds and got their name from the book Roughing It, written by Mark Twain. Ironically, Zephyr means gentle breeze.
You'll actually see the Zephyr approaching because the Truckee will develop a wind, and usually about 2 hours later, in many cases, the airport here will kick into the west wind.
A 20-degree difference in temperature between Lovelock and Truckee can cause wind gusts over 30 miles per hour in the late afternoon.
It is a prevalent thing in the summertime. We get it often, so red flags are usually reserved for especially higher fire danger days.
It's a time to be extra aware. Most of our wildfires are human-caused and occur in the late afternoon, which is also the same time our winds tend to pick up for a couple hours. Our relative humidity is the lowest and people are off work. Many, if not all, of the fires this year in the valley have occurred on non-red flag days.
I've lost count. I think we're at least over a dozen right now and probably well over 50 acres.
And next week will be the ideal setup to pick up on the Zephyr winds. The wind we saw yesterday, today, and tomorrow is actually due to a weak little system up to our north. Covering Fire Watch, Angela Schilling, Channel 2 News.
Yeah, good reminders, Angela. Thank you. So will our wind pick up even more later this week?
Let's find out and check in with Chief Meteorologist Mike Alger. How's it?
You know, I don't think it's going to pick up more necessarily than what we saw today or seen today, but today is plenty enough wind. As Angela mentioned, afternoon winds, particularly when you have these warm conditions, are almost a given around here. They'll start off fairly calm in the morning, picked up a little bit up at Lake Tahoe, although they're not absolutely ferocious. If we look at what's happening on the satellite picture, Angela mentioned that system up to the north. It is giving a little bit of a west flow. Now that wind, the flow down this far to the south is relatively light, but when you combine a light westerly flow aloft here with that Washoe Zephyr effect, or the heating effect that happens in the afternoon, then you're going to be translating that into 10 to 20 mile per hour winds in the afternoon after being fairly light in the morning. Let's take a look at our futurecast winds. Right now you can see they're blowing out of the west here, and again that translates to 10 to 20 mile per hour winds. They're going to die out overnight. We're putting the clock into motion. They'll be light in the morning, and then all of a sudden, once again in the afternoon, they'll kick up just about as strong tomorrow. Now it does look like they're going to ease off a little bit on Saturday, and our temperatures will continue to rise. We will get a little bit of a west kick just due to the heating, but we're going to see that ridge build up enough here so that we're actually not likely to see quite as strong an upper level gradient with those winds. Now tonight, 72 degrees still by 10 o'clock with clear skies. We'll start things off sunny tomorrow, 58. And I think we're going to be in the 90s tomorrow. And believe it or not, that 92 for our high tomorrow may be the coolest day we have over the next 7 days. We'll tell you how toasty we're going to get and the odds of reaching triple digits coming up here in a few minutes.
Crazy story in Crime Beat here. A Washoe County canine chased a suspect into the Truckee River, and now that person's in custody. Deputies say they found a stolen vehicle stopped at a Walmart parking lot. Then the suspect ran off into the river there. A dog chased him. The canine was called back, and the suspect was arrested after climbing out of the river near Kitsky Lane and Galletti Way. He's not yet been identified.
Investigators think that children set a small fire at an elementary school in Wadsworth overnight. It started around 9:30 at Natchez Elementary and was quickly knocked down. Officials suspect that the kids set the portable bathrooms on fire, which caused some minor damage there. Nevada Highway Patrol troopers say a fatal crash near Tonopah claimed 2 lives around 7 o'clock this morning. One person died at the scene. Another was hospitalized but later passed away. Those people have not yet been identified.
Nevada has one of the highest rates in the nation for opioid use. That's according to the state's attorney general, who announced today that he's leading a major investigation into this problem. Ariana Bennett joins us now live in the newsroom with this story. And Ari, I understand they're going beyond targeting users and dealers, right?
Yeah, that's right. They're actually taking the investigation all the way to drug manufacturers. Adam Laxalt says they're hoping to find out if the manufacturers have been misleading doctors and patients about how addictive these drugs are.
Something I think is important to look into for the protection and health and safety of our citizens.
Now, Nevada is leading a group of states all looking into the source of the opioid crisis. Laxalt says the Silver State is in the top 6 for the percentage of prescriptions for painkillers like codeine and fentanyl. Now, they're highly addictive, so often when the prescription runs out, people turn to street drugs like heroin instead.
It's just, unimaginable for most folks that don't use drugs to think that someone would just go casually buy heroin. But that is the natural chain that you see.
Yeah, Laxalt says the investigation will likely take some time since there are so many drug manufacturers. In the meantime, they're putting more focus on the issue on the state level as well, working to track overdoses and maintain a prescription drug monitoring program. Covering the story live from the newsroom, Ariana Bennett, Channel 2 News.
Looking around the nation now, congressional lawmakers are on the field. They're playing that annual charity baseball game after all this evening.
Yeah, and they were practicing for that yesterday when that gunman opened fire in Alexandria, Virginia, and critically injured House Whip Majority Steve Scalise, who underwent a 3rd surgery today. There's a live image of that baseball game. We're going to join Mola Lange, who is live at Nationals Park, where that game is being played, with more. Mola?
Well, Landon, Kristen, this game has been played by Congress for more than 100 years. It's always been a chance for lawmakers to not only be bipartisan, but really be nonpartisan. They come out here, it's not about Democrats and Republicans, but a chance for them to enjoy time with members of the opposite party. All of that has a whole new meaning today, especially after yesterday's shooting.
A century-old rivalry is playing out on the field at Nationals Park as the Democrats battle the Republicans in their annual charity baseball game.
Steve would want nothing more than to make sure this game was played, which is pretty exciting in its own right.
Members gathered for a prayer before the first pitch. On everyone's mind is wounded House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, who was shot in the hip at practice yesterday morning. Lawmakers are wearing LSU hats in his honor.
It's just a small memento to let his family know and him know he's beloved, and we want to see him pull through.
Security at Nationals Park is tight, but fans were eager to come out and support the game.
I happen to have the shirt and the hat and, supporting Scalise and rooting for him and, praying and hoping the best for him.
In years past, it's usually just family and staffers who turn out to the charity game, but the shooting brought a new focus to this bipartisan event.
GOP's Gerald Ford. Over the years, Democrats and Republicans have each won 39 games. That means bragging rights for whichever team wins the tiebreaker. But lawmakers are sending a message of peace and unity beyond the bleachers.
To everybody, look, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, this is not the way we resolve differences in America.
Lawmakers will celebrate together after the game, no matter who wins.
Well, since yesterday's shooting, the ticket sales for the game and the funds raised for charities supported by this baseball game have skyrocketed. More than 20,000 tickets were sold for the game, more than $1 million raised, which is double last year's totals. Live in Washington, Mola Lengi, Landon and Kristen, back to you.
Incredible numbers, Mola, thank you. Well, he is the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. That's what Nevada Representative Mark Amodei told us about Majority Whip Steve Scalise.
When I got here in the special election, my original scheduler was from Louisiana, which is where Steve's district is. And the first week I was here, this guy named Steve Scalise from Louisiana comes down to my office and presents me with a flag that was flown over the Capitol on the day that I was sworn in, just on his own. I mean, he wasn't in leadership then or anything else like that.
And those gifts continued. Amodei says that Scalise gave everyone on the Whip team custom baseball bats last year. And there will be much more on the aftermath of the shooting on the CBS Evening News. That is coming up next at 6 o'clock.
Today, a jury announced they're deadlocked in the Bill Cosby sexual assault trial, but a judge ordered them to keep deliberating. The judge also told jurors they are not compelled to surrender their honest belief solely because of the opinion of fellow jurors. The jury of 7 men and 5 women began deliberating Monday night. Outside the courtroom, both Cosby supporters and accusers gathered and exchanged heated words, as you see right there, although they remained peaceful.
Will you copy that? Can we meet over at drop point 51 at the 52 road where Elk Creek comes together?
Fire agencies played in the sand today, but there is a method here. Trust us. We'll have a closer look at this fire training at 5:30.
There they are. The cattle drive made its final push today through the streets of Reno to kick off the rodeo. Coming up, we'll hear from the riders who took part in this Northern Nevada tradition and why the experience is so unforgettable.
But first, dozens are still missing after a deadly fire tore through a London high-rise last night. What investigators believe helped fuel that deadly inferno as we look around the world. That's next.
You're watching Channel 2 News at 5 with Kristen Remington, Landon Miller, and Mike Alger's Pinpoint 2 forecast.
We're going to look around the world now. Police are investigating what sparked a fire at a London high-rise that killed at least 17 people. Investigators say it's still too early to say whether or not it was sparked on purpose. The flames left behind the blackened shell of a 24-story high-rise. Fire experts believe cosmetic siding recently added to the building's exterior may have fueled the blaze. Authorities say it could take weeks to search the site.
The 22-year-old American who returned from North Korea is in a coma earlier this week, or is in the hospital in Ohio tonight with his family at his bedside. But his condition, we have learned, is now grave.
He has spontaneous eye opening and blinking. However, he shows no signs of understanding language, responding to verbal commands, or awareness of his surroundings.
Otto Warmbier's doctors say respiratory arrest likely caused damage to most of his brain. The University of Virginia student was on a 5-day tour of North Korea when he was arrested in January of 2016 and accused of stealing a propaganda poster. After a 1-hour trial, he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor.
Looking around the nation now, an operator is recovering from burns after his blimp crashed at the U.S. Open today. Witnesses say, wow, they could see flames coming from the advertising blimp as it floated to the ground. The blimp went down in an open field near Erin Hills Golf Course. No one on the ground was hurt. The FAA and NTSB are investigating.
Well, don't expect too many clouds over the next few days, but do expect some very, very warm temperatures. How high will the mercury rise? We'll answer that coming up next.
But first, Governor Sandoval signed more bills into law today. How they'll impact the renewable energy industry in the Silver State is next.
Hey, Will. Hey, Will.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Okay. What's up?
Oh, not much. Getting close to the weekend.
It is.
We will be right with you presently.
Okay.
Welcome back. Today, Governor Sandoval signed a bill to make solar panels more affordable for homeowners. The governor signed Assembly Bill 405 at the Tesla Energy Warehouse in Las Vegas this morning. It restores favorable rates for solar customers who generate energy during the day and then sell it back to the grid. The governor says it will help hundreds of solar jobs return to Nevada. After that, Governor Sandoval traveled to the opening of the Culinary Health Center in North Las Vegas and signed SB 539, which aims to force the 3 main insulin makers to disclose the prices they set and the profits they make on the drug. The governor also signed several bills at UNLV, including one to build a medical school on that campus.
Meanwhile, an affordable housing project that will help veterans find home in Reno is now open.
There it is.
There it is. Hillside Meadows on Beck Street in Reno held a ribbon-cutting ceremony today. Construction on it began about a year ago. It's one of the projects developed by Northern Nevada Community Housing.
It takes so much hard work to achieve a project like this, but it's so worth it. The reward is so worth it when you see a veteran walk into a place that they couldn't have afforded anywhere else at any other time and know that they have a place to call home.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so the development includes 16 one-bedroom apartments and 28 two-bedroom apartments.